Morning Church. It's Pastor Mike. Our devotion this morning really ties in and it just dovetails right in with yesterday when we were talking about the martyring of Stephen, the first martyr of the church who was killed as a deacon because of his proclamation and his preaching. And we see in Acts chapter 8 that the story goes from bad to worse when it comes to the prosecution or the persecution of the early church. Luke tells us in chapter 8 that on that day, the day that Stephen was killed, a great persecution broke out against the church in Jerusalem. And everyone except the apostles were scattered. They were scattered all over Judea and Samaria, everywhere. They had to flee for their lives. And we could look at this moment as almost a decisive defeat in the history of the church. After all, they were being persecuted, they were running for their lives. What could it possibly be here? But I think God's word for us today or this morning comes in the following two verses. One, recognizing the reality of that situation. Luke doesn't mince any words. He says Saul began to destroy the church. Going from house to house, he dragged people off, both men and women, and put them in prison. It's bleak. And Luke isn't afraid to acknowledge that bleakness. Sometimes that's how our life situations can be. And we want to put a smile on it or wrap it in a bow and say, well, it's not all that bad. Or, oh, well, other people have it worse. Or, oh, well, ways to discount our own pain or our own hurt. And I don't think that's always helpful. I think it's a way to deflect from having to deal with the pain that's going on in our lives. Sometimes we can just say, I feel like the church that day, like I am beginning to be destroyed, like I am being worn down until there's nothing left. But remember that the grace of God always exists. And listen to verse 4 to hear it just in this story. Those who had been scattered preached the word wherever they went. Philip went down to a city in Samaria and proclaimed the Messiah there. When the crowds heard Philip and saw the signs he performed, they all paid close attention to what he said. For with shrieks, impure spirits came out of many, and many who were paralyzed or lame were healed, so there was great joy in that city. There's this change between the pain that's going on in Jerusalem, but because of that, because everybody had to spread out in this moment, joy went to this city in Samaria and dozens, hundreds of others as these apostles went out and as these believers went out and preached the gospel of Jesus Christ to those that would hear it. So often in our lives, we can get focused only on the bleakness of what's going on around us, and we can forget to look for the blessing that God has provided in its midst. There's the old saying that God won't close a door without opening a window. Sometimes it feels like we are shut in, claustrophobic, and the walls are just getting closer, but the truth is that there is always some space where we can find God's blessing. Even in a pandemic year, I think we've all found maybe new ways to engage with our faith, new ways to connect with other people. We've learned things that we didn't think we would need to learn, have to learn, or ever bother to learn, but we've all become pretty good at using Zoom or YouTube or FaceTime or whatever it might be to stay connected with the people we love. Always there are blessings in this world. No matter what we are going through, we can find the strength, the support, and the excitement of God's kingdom around us, even if it's just in what He's teaching us or opportunities that are laid before us that we can jump at because of our current situation. So hold on to the truth of God. No matter the persecution that you may face, no matter the hardships that may come, always there is a blessing. And if we're looking for it, just like these believers who went out, I'm willing to bet that there is almost always an opportunity in the midst of our persecution to preach God's goodness, to help other people see His kingdom in a more clear light. So God bless you today. May you follow His Spirit wherever He leads you, and may He lead you through dark times to the bright horizon ahead. God bless.